Washington, D.C. is home to the treasures of our nation. Yet in our nation's capital, which abounds with the museums and memorials of almost every description, there is no museum, no central collection that honors the achievements of half of our population, the achievements of American women. But now we have an unprecedented opportunity to tell the untold half of our collective history. During the past decade, the National Women's History Museum has made enormous strides towards telling that story. Now you hold the power to bring that story to life by giving the museum a permanent home. Hello, I'm Meryl Streep. The achievements of the women of my generation have come about because of the contributions to our history of our mothers, our grandmothers, great-grandmothers, all the women who came before, most of whom had no voice or vote in the events of their everyday lives. I remember my grandmother telling me that she had 3 kids, but was not allowed to vote in the school board election. We always think that this is about presidential politics, but it has to do with the very, very personal decisions. She had to wrangle my grandfather and make him go down and vote in an election he had no information about or interest in. So that's part of my personal history. Now we ask you, the 435 men and women of the United States House of Representatives, to give women's history a home in our nation's capital. There are countless women who made enormous contributions to our nation. Women who made America great, quietly, but with enormous impact. Women who shaped our lives by caring for, educating, and inspiring our nation's children in our homes and communities. Women who were the backbone of society. Women whose ideas and discoveries have greatly improved the country and the world in which we live. Their stories have been lost or ignored until now. At the close of the last century, the President's Commission on Celebrating Women's History endorsed the idea of a National Women's History Museum to be located near the National Mall, a museum where mothers, daughters, fathers, and sons can all learn, appreciate, and be inspired by the incredible contributions of the women who came before. Due to the efforts of our political leaders, the Senate unanimously passed legislation to fulfill this vision. The National Women's History Museum will provide a much-needed educational resource in what is now an abandoned building next to the historic old post office building. Vacant for the past decade, today this structure is an eyesore on America's main street, Pennsylvania Avenue, just blocks from the White House, and the museums where millions of Americans come to learn about our country's proud heritage. In the pioneering spirit of resourceful women, the National Women's History Museum seeks only the opportunity to create a place to learn about the critical roles women played in forging our society. These inspiring stories will touch the lives of people throughout the nation and the world. Planning studies for Washington identify this area, 1 block from the National Mall, as the preferred location for museums. The decision about how this federal property can best be used for the maximum public benefit has already been made. Now it is up to Congress to implement the vision for this and future generations. Congress has voted to create museums in Washington, D.C. commemorating art, buildings, crafts, postal stamps, technology, textiles, spaceflight, and groups such as law enforcement officers, the military, victims of the Holocaust, African Americans and Native Americans, to name just a few recent examples. Surely the vast contributions and important accomplishments of 52% of the nation also deserve recognition. As Washington moves ever closer to becoming the repository for the nation's most precious educational and cultural treasures, it's time for the contributions of women to be recognized in this most fitting of locations. The Senate has acted. Now it is time for the House of Representatives to do the same. The women and men of America urge the House to join the Senate in passing Senate Bill number 501, the National Women's History Museum Act. A decade ago, the National Women's History Museum led the effort to honor the women who inspired the largest civil rights movement in American history. But one statue honoring women in the Capitol Rotunda is not enough. Celebrating women's history 1 month a year is not enough. This is what we need. We need a continuing commitment to the women who made America what it is today, the same commitment they had and continue to have to our nation, a commitment to our mothers, our daughters, sisters, and wives, a commitment that says, we honor you. I'm Meryl Streep. Thank you for your support of the National Women's History Museum.